It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. It's been fun looking at the news recently and all of the red lines being drawn on the Build Back Better plan, the pitfalls, all the stuff just being thrown out there and reported on. And look, we're getting a front row seat to the sausage-making fest of legislation, otherwise known as the Budget Reconciliation Bill, affectionately known as Build Back Better. And it is getting battered around pretty good. And this is what happens when you don't have strong leadership, I think. This is, to me, one of these things where Schumer, to me, not the strongest leader of the bunch. This stuff should have been hammered out. And again, look, I go back to Roy Rogers, who said, probably 100 years ago, I don't belong to an organized party. I'm a Democrat. And that is kind of playing right out in front of us. Because what they're doing is they're negotiating in the press. They're out there. Everyone's making their own statements. And there doesn't seem to be much coordination going on about getting the things that we need done and telling people what is in this bill. This is the part that is driving me just insane. The sales pitch hasn't really been made. Now look, the mainstream media, our corporate-controlled media, does not want this plan. They don't. They want the hard infrastructure stuff. They want that. They don't want the social safety net stuff. They don't want the human infrastructure stuff. They don't want it. Because it's going to mean higher taxes on them. And because, unlike Republicans, Democrats try and pay for stuff. And this is their problem. Their problem is and I've said it for a long time, I'm a tax and spend liberal. I believe you raise taxes to pay for the things that you need. Pay for the things you need, like we do in my household. When we need a new roof, we pay for it. Figure it out how to pay for it. We don't take on massive debt. We pay for it. Unlike, past Republican presidents who have just ran up the debt through the roof and then just said, well, we'll leave it to the Democrats when it's their turn. And then we'll turn around and go, hey, we can't do anything because we're broke because we spent all the money the last term. You go back to Reagan. Reagan ballooned our deficits. Massive debt run up during the Reagan years. And Clinton did what? He had to come in and fix up the Reagan-Bush, H.W. Bush mess. And to H.W. Bush's credit, and I must point this out, when he saw what Reagan had done, he actually did go back on his read my lips, no new taxes pledge. Because he saw just how bad the numbers were and said, look, we've got to jack things up a little. We need to bring some revenue in. And it cost him re-election. And then, look, Clinton went and raised taxes anyway and balanced the budget and then handed it off to Bush, who immediately went and gave it all away. And then you had Obama, who came in cleaning up the Bush mess. You remember the 2008 collapse? Remember the banking collapse? I do. And the housing bubble go boom? Absolutely, I do. And Obama came in and diminished expectations. Sorry, we can't do big and chunky. We can do a little bit. And then Trump comes in, gives the baby and the bathwater away. And now we're back to where we started from. Broke, can't afford it because we've run up too much debt. And I'm going, look, we need to go back to the good socialist president, Dwight David Eisenhower's tax code. Top marginal tax rate of 92% and incrementally goes 1,000 different tax rates, incrementally goes up to that 92% based on how much you earn. The more you make, the more you pay. Simple. None of this stuff that we have billionaires paying nothing. We have corporate America paying zero. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the weird thing is we can't seem to get people on board, especially in the Senate, who think that, we do need to raise taxes on the people who have the money. Sorry. All of those low-wage workers who are struggling to make ends meet now, there's nothing to get from them. And we learned that in 2012 when Mitt Romney said, they're 47% of the population who pay no federal taxes. And I said at the time, we got 47% of the population who would love to pay federal taxes, because it would mean they'd be making more money. They wouldn't be working at a poverty level. But what we had is this kind of class war. The haves against the have-nots. And the haves are like, no, the heck with you. I've got mine. Screw you. And no more did that play out than today, when one of our world's gazillionaires, Elon Musk, tweeted out that, quote, eventually they run out of other people's money and then they come for you. Yeah, here's the thing. Today, after Monday's big announcement with Hertz, that Hertz is going to buy 100,000 Tesla vehicles, his wealth went up $37 billion in one day. So I'm going, hold on. Before you get to me, there's a lot of his to get. There's a lot of stuff there. And I'm not saying making Elon Musk poor. I'm not saying making him live a lifestyle that I live or anyone listening to this program lives. I'm saying, look, you should pay some taxes. There should be a minimum. Your company should pay some taxes. The bigger the shoulders, the more responsibility. But $37 billion in one day, his wealth went up. One day. His wealth went from $252 billion, $250 billion, to $289 billion on Monday. And you go, we are not the same. To raise taxes on someone like Elon Musk, wouldn't even notice it. When you're talking about almost $300 billion in wealth. Now understand, this is what the Bloomberg Billionaires Index has put it at. The value of his stocks, the value of his assets. They never cash that stuff out. Rich people never cash that stuff out. What they do is they borrow money against it. They go to the bank and they borrow other people's money and they spend that. And then they pay it off with interest, and then they get to deduct the interest, which is brilliant. And look, they're smart. They really are. They've figured out how to create an economic system where they don't have to pay anything for it, and they get to reap all the benefits. This is where we are. This isn't a secret. This is reality. This is what our billionaires do. They don't have income like average everyday working people, where at the end of the week you get a paycheck and you go, oh gee, they took 12 or 15%. Their lives are much more, untaxable, because everything that they own, their houses, their cars, their yachts, all of their phallic-looking, penis-shaped rockets that they shoot in the sky are owned by corporations. And some in shell corporations that they get to hide money around in and don't pay taxes on at all. We know this. So why can't we change the system to say, look, everybody has to pay something? Steve Forbes was running around for a while going, what we need is a flat tax. Understanding that a flat tax wouldn't matter because they still don't have any income. What's the gimmick on Steve Forbes was they were going to raise the taxes on all the working people up to 23%. So you'd be paying more during the flat tax idea. And billionaires would still walk away from it because they don't get the income the same way that working people do. So when they come out and, the Democrats now have this idea that they're going to tax the value of their assets, which I'm not opposed to. Not. I think it's probably not a bad idea. At the end of the year, this is your assets. We're going to tax you X amount percent on this. If you want to cash them out and realize the profit from it and maybe pay a lower rate, do that. But ultimately, you got to pay something. You cannot have the wealthiest people in this country not paying a dime, because we need to get things done. And this is where this all breaks down in what we need. Because the wealth class do a masterful job of telling us, well, see, first they're going to come after me, and then you're next. No, you're not. You're not next. You're way down the list. Way down the list. We got 745 billionaires who pocketed $2.1 trillion during the pandemic. They don't want to share that. Talking a massive amount of money that could be used for college for your kids, better health care for your grandparents, better roads and bridges, educational opportunities, health care. Go down the list. Paid family leave. Lots of stuff. But no, we can't do it because, well, we've got a couple of corporate Democrats who are going, no, we can't raise taxes on rich people. And an entire Republican Party who have they've basically planted their flag in the ground around no taxes on rich people. It's crazy. And at some point, I hope we wake up to the reality of the reason that we're in the mess that we're in is that through our work, we've sacrificed massive amounts of wages and benefits and opportunities so that we could create this billionaire class. We pay their taxes. And I know there are people who go, I'm tired of paying taxes for those lazy welfare people. And I go, which ones? Where my focus is? Elon Musk. Oh, but Elon Musk, he creates jobs. Yeah. And they're not that great. With massive subsidies and other people's money. Granted, he's a brilliant guy, but that doesn't mean he gets to walk away from society. Same thing with Bezos, same thing with Buffett, same thing with Gates or any of our other billionaires. In past generations, we leaned heavily on them. And the thing that's curious to me is each one of these people could have a real legacy of making lives better. I mean, we could have a company country. No more company towns. We've got billionaires who are so much wealthier than the robber barons of yesteryear. Basically, we should just say to the 745 we got now, you take care of this problem, you take care of this problem, you take care of this problem. You're paying for it. Maybe then we could get something done. Now you got Kristen Sinema coming out now saying that she's in favor of a corporate minimum tax. Okay, finally, about damn time. The fact that you've got, Amazon, who a couple of years paid zero in taxes. You've got some of these big corporations who've paid zero in corporate taxes is insane to me. Just insane. But the working people, every day, they're getting hammered. So it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of days because it looks like the hope of getting the social infrastructure bill moved through this week, it looks like that's not going to happen. Probably not next week either. Especially as everyone seems to be digging in. I mean, you now have Bernie Sanders saying the red line for him is you got to have the help for Granny to get the chompers and the glasses and the dental work. You got to have the expansion of Medicare. You got to have lower prescription drug costs. You've now got the progressives on the other side saying, hey, we're not moving individual bills. They got to go together. So there's all of this stuff, all of these different kind of moving pieces that, like I said months ago, I fear nothing gets done at the end of this. Because, well, we're starting to draw the red lines and you're doing it in public, which I think is a bad thing. But again, we'll see how this plays out. The other story that caught my attention today, and I have to throw this out there. Obviously today you had, Deborah Birx. Remember Deborah Birx? Remember her from the early pandemic? You remember she was there with Trump and Fauci, and she was like his expert. Well, she came out today and said in a congressional hearing that had Trump done the right thing from the beginning, 130,000 people wouldn't have died. Had he followed her advice from the start, there would be another 130,000 people alive today. Look, I don't doubt that. But the story that really made me laugh is this comedian went and did some side of the road interviews and actually got one Trump supporter to say that that he believes everybody who has taken the vaccine will be dead within 5 or 15 years, guaranteed, he said. But then went on to say that Donald Trump deserves credit for Operation Warp Speed, even though everybody who took it will be dead in 15 years. Let that sink in for a second. We're going to give Trump credit for, well, killing everybody who took the vaccine in 15 years. And this guy didn't quite... His rationale is, well, had he not developed the vaccine, more people would have died. Well, if everyone who takes it is going to die in 15 years, I'm struggling with how you fix this in your mind and why you're giving Trump credit. This is one of those stories that's supposed to tie your mind in knots and just break you so you walk away. This is one of those stories that just makes me go, someone didn't do really well in critical thinking classes. And probably why we do need better civic education, and maybe more critical thinking kind of things. For instance, another story that popped up. CNN went after Terry McAuliffe, who's running for governor of Virginia. McAuliffe claimed that Stacey Abrams would have won Georgia had the governor / Secretary of State, the Secretary of State who was running for governor, not booted a bunch of people off the voting rolls earlier. Now, it's known that Brian Kemp did a massive purge of minority voters. The AP says that 70% of the people who were purged from the voting rolls were minority voters. You can make the calculation that the vast majority of those minority voters were going to vote for the minority candidate in Georgia. I don't think that's a huge leap. But CNN is saying, well, see, this is just like what Donald Trump's doing. No, it's not. They're saying that this is what happened. And everyone admits that's what happened. They purged a bunch of voters. And those voters being purged and not being able to vote, not being anywhere near the ballot box, cost her the election. Basically living out what Paul Weyrich said back in 1980 when he was talking to Baptist ministers about how many of our good Christians have what I call goo-goo syndrome, good government. They want everyone to vote. He goes, I don't want everyone to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of the people. They never have been from the beginning in our country, and they will not now. As a matter of fact, he said, our leverage in the elections quite candidly goes up as the voting populace goes down. Purge voters, less voters, their power goes up. Simple. Seems pretty simple. Quick break. Right back.
Then workers standing up, and the union gives a voice to win.
On the Rick Smith Show.